Welcome to Center Heist Productions. It is. Please first hit the likes and subscribe down in your right-hand corner. It is the end of the draft. So, as this second part pertains, this is rounds 3 through 7 for the Habs, as they had no drafts picks in the second. So, let's get to it. Please hit the likes and subscribe. Muchly trying to build a strong community here, and we had a positive draft. So round 3, we ended up taking in our first pick in round 3. What a nice story again. Otto Koivu, Saku Koivu's son, who's center, and they interviewed him, and again, he wasn't at the draft, but at home, so they interviewed him from there. And quite another one of those feel-good stories. So you got to like that. And yes, third round. So he's not going to be at the level his dad was. When Saku went in the first round. So it's apples and oranges. Seems like a great kid, great positive story. If this kid ever puts on a Habs jersey, it's going to be, he'll have the support. There'll be fan support for him due to his dad. I think it's a feel-good story, and it's nice to see. He's kind of on the smaller side, but so is Saku. But again, and he has challenges to his game to get himself so that he can get to the next level. Sure, he will still play in Finland and now work on reforming his game. So quite a positive story interview-wise. And then we go to the next pick, which was Logan Sawyer, another centerman. We really stacked up on centers in this, and he seemed like a good kid too. Very positive. Then we went after that with, in the fourth round, Owen Protz, if I'm saying that correctly, a defenseman. That was the one defenseman I seen. Two defensemen that were drafted by the Habs, so they did back off. We had a lot of centers, and then at 130, Tyler Thorpe, right winger, another forward. Good to see. Feel good stories. These kids seem to be very positive. And then at 134, we ended up drafting Micus. I'm going to butcher this. Vec Ranage, a goaltender. And so we got another goaltender to add to the surplus, just in case. It's never harms. There's no harm in continuing having another goaltender, as you never know what's going to happen in the future with who makes it and who doesn't. Then at 166, we get Ben Merrill, who's a center. Again, stacking up on those centers. We were very heavy on the centers, which is not a bad thing, because at least those guys can be transformed to wingers very easily. And then at 222 or 210, we Makar Kahanen, another right winger. So good to see the forwards. And at the final draft pick, was Ramas Bergquist, a defenseman. And so 2 defensemen out of all them drafts. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 forwards, and a goaltender. So not bad at all for the draft. And very positive kids when you've seen them. The the happiness on their faces. They seem to be good character kids. And it's always a crap shot when you get into these middle rounds. So I think every team's kind of in the same place. You just try to find the best character you can, and good to see that we stocked the shelves with forwards, which is something we needed to do even for Laval, to beef up that, because we had everything was defense. So the Habs definitely addressed their forward situation. Now it's not going to be overnight that everything changes, because these are all, you get mid-rounders which, like I say, everybody's in the same boat, and it's kind of you'll have to see who makes it and who breaks, right? You're always going to have successes in development, and others won't. But it's a shot in the dark that you try to invest in these players and see what happens. So it seemed to be a pretty good, happy feel for the Habs overall in the draft. I think for me, I think, and it's probably for all of us, it's the first round that really stood out, that we did really well. And we needed to, because we needed to really hit that top six. Um, and we needed to hit it right. And we got, like I say, the blessing of getting Demidov on our lap, which was a big bonus. And then you had Hage, which was a feel good story, and seems to have top six potential as well. And like I said, the rest of them, with the Koivu son and onward, and you had one of the kids saying this was the best jersey and everything, and very happy kids to be wearing the Habs uniform. So it just they seemed to know what they were going after a bit. Positive attitudes, I guess. But other than that, I don't know enough about these ladder drafts. I kind of look at ladder drafts as they're all at risk. Um, it's a hit or miss. Uh, so with that, though, overall positive for the Habs, especially making our first round count this time around. And from there on, I think we did have decently a big boost to our future. Now, for the now and then, it's going to be interesting because we got the free agency coming up on the first, and like I told you, I'm really not expecting. I think we might have seen the biggest splash of that trading up from 26 to 21st. I know we're probably been beating on the door continually on the Natchez, with Carolina, but pending on where that's at, I don't know. I don't have a lot of confidence. Um, in where it's going. I think Carolina may be asking too much. There's other ways of looking at that venue too. I don't like to see offer sheets in the NHL because one team doesn't want it done to them. But it is another venue to look at it saying, "Want to be stupid, Carolina?" Although I think Carolina can end him. I have a feeling he may get signed. To tell you the truth, or they'll deal with his contract and re-sign him to something longer with more money because I think they're having a tough time getting what's his name? Anyway, Gensel. It looks like there's another team having a little more success in negotiations. So I don't know if they can wrap up Gensel, and if they can't wrap up Gensel, there's a darn good chance that, like I even heard Toronto's name in the mix for Gensel. So that could be interesting. But it doesn't seem like Carolina's at the front runners in negotiations with Gensel. So if that happens, Nate just won't even be on the market. They'll end up signing him instead. That's a given. And then you might see Trevain free up. I don't know, pending. But either way, it's that's why I said I just think it's if you can't get Natchez, that's the only shot you take for a top six to boost it. You can't get them, move on. Worry about the bottom six, and you can't. It's not like you make a big splash in the bottom six, but you can do some good things with the bottom six, and that's what I'm. If anything, and I don't expect it to be what we were hoping for. With I know that they might have wanted there to be a big boost. They're going to have to think about this. Yes, you did well on the draft, but these guys aren't ready to come in instantly, so they're not going to change Montreal's trajectory to this season. So this season, unless Montreal's got a horseshoe that they got hidden somewhere, I would have to say, yes, you'll have Doc back, and that's a bonus, and I'm sure they're going to address some bottom six players that are better than the level we have, and make that I can see them improving. But other than that, I mean, I don't know how they think they're going to take this big advanced step. They did great good in the draft on the first round, that's for sure. But again, it doesn't affect us immediately. Um, so free agency is going to get real interesting, and I just don't see it. Yes, we'll have Doc back. We got to find out if he's injury prone because we got 5 players to keep an eye on this season, or 4, one of the something like that, that seem to have had several injuries. And I think this following season come up is going to be a telltale season as to whether they are injury prone or not. And that's going to have huge ramifications. So let's pray to God that they're not injury prone, because all of the guys that are on that list of that are very questionable had a couple of injuries each, and we don't know. We're questioning where they stand. Yes, they can make impact on the team, like Doc, if he could stay healthy. I'm sure that Montreal, yeah, they could probably move up. Um, from they've been hanging in fifth spot from the bottom. I think the next step at best is going to be up to eighth from the bottom to 10th. They're going to be in that range from 10 to 8th from the bottom. That's as big of a step. So they're not going to be. I'm sorry. I do not see them in the wild card race whatsoever. They're going to be better than what they were. They should be, and that's questionable too, because if you don't make an overall adjustment that is drastic in a sense, and especially for the way they're talking, they expect this team to compete for. I think they're a step or two ahead of themselves, because yes, Doc can make a difference. We know that if he stays healthy. That's the big question. There's big questions with Gooley. There's big questions with Jack Guy. There's big questions with Newell for health. These guys got some health issues that we're going to really see where we stand. And if there's a problem there, that's going to set us back in this rebuild a bit. There's no way around that. You can't say it. No one can say otherwise, because that changes your trajectory. And even though I know Doc, I mean, yes, I'm sure if Doc had been healthy last season, we probably would have had 10 more points, or been in that ballpark. We might have actually even moved up two. There would have been a possibility of moving up. We would have been higher, I mean higher to the top of the league, meaning 8th or 10th from the bottom. We would have had closer chance to that. Uh, but then the second question comes up, and we didn't have them, and we did improve, but we're still in 5th from the bottom. The question becomes, we can look at, there were some very positive steps some of these guys took. Always one goal game differences. These guys, was that playing above their head is the big question. So that's the other thing, because it kind of looks like we might have outperformed ourselves with all the injuries we, had again, and crucial with guys like Doc. Uh, they might have outperformed themselves, and even with Doc, that if they don't outperform again, it could level off to being very similar. So unless they have a rabbit in their hat somewhere, I don't see this team drastically jumping up the ladder. At best, as I said, and that's with a positive spin on it, we'll move back to being like 8th or 10th from the bottom instead of 5th. That'll show signs of some improvement. But we're not challenging for no playoff spot, unless, again, they got a couple rabbits in their hat, and I don't foresee it, because I've seen that free agent list, and I don't see anybody in there other than Natchez that is really worthwhile. And we seem to be, from reports, and I don't know how. You got, again, we get so many reports that it's just hearsay. I mean, if there's any truth of some of what the insider's saying, we got quite a good position, but I don't know, because Carolina and our relationship, is it going to be better since Wardell's gone? Was it Wardell causing more of the conflict, or was it the owner? Um, Hard to say, isn't it? So we're going to, I mean, it's surprising me in that report that we are one of the front runners for Natchez. I don't see it. because again, unless they get Gensel signed up, they're going to need Natchez. So that's a hands down for me. That could change even anybody getting Natchez. So unless Gensel becomes, they get him locked up, that's the only way that's going to work out. So we shall see. But I would not get, if I'm a Habs fan, I would not get yourself uh, wound up to thinking that there's going to be this big splash. I think we might have, our big splash might have been that trade on day one of the draft. And it wasn't that big of a splash because probably was a little too difficult for teams weren't being reasonable. So that being said, yes, I do expect to see maybe I'll take some shots at some bottom six players uh, to improve that. That I can see, but as far as I don't know, and like I say, Nature's the only one you could hope on the top six, and that's hanging by a thread for anybody with the Gensel situation. And is the relationship any different? Because it almost seems like Wardell had serious issues with the Habs organization because it sounded like there was some just cocky comments even before the draft, and he knew that um, Lidstrom was one of the big choices for Montreal as well, and I knew he was going to take him. I just thought this is a shot at Montreal he's going to take. So if I was the Habs, if he's going to be that type of idiot, don't deal with him because really it's guys like him that are going to need teams like us that are, because we're higher up in our rebuild. We kind of surpassed um, Columbus now. However, with them having Lidstrom and Fantilli, that could change pretty quick in a season. It won't be this year, but in about 2 seasons, it could change. That's quite a good tower to have. But in saying that, I still think they're farther behind than the Habs. I think they were mismanaged with what they did, and they unloaded some more players like Texier. These are kind of some key components of what little they had. So they got a lot of work. I kind of expect them to be busy in free agency, and I think could be very well have the inside track on Natchez as well. They probably have a lot of free cash, and he probably has a good relationship with them. So it's here nor there. So don't get your hopes up because, and it's like I said, as happy as I am with the draft, and I am very happy. It's like Gordon and Hughes scene took 2 years, and they were seeing the Demidov being a better value than Michkov, and it was just us as Habs fans not catching that they were just doing it kind of reverse, and it did. Although a lot of luck played into that because how Demidov didn't fall on someone else's hands, shocking to me. Shocked the heck out of me. The hockey gods were good to us for sure. So with that being said, yeah, you got to commend Gordon and Hughes, and I mean it was evident that they put Gordon out there to take interviews before the draft happened, and then allowed Hughes to be taking the interviews after, because they know it was evident Gordon's got an awesome poker face, whereas Hughes might have had a smirk or something to just give away just a little bit. So I think they did a great job. We got fortunate, and things panned out. I think Demidov's going to be better than Michkov in the all-round game, and we have what looks like a star player in a couple of years. So we'll see how that pans out. But we do. It's going to be critical for the next 3 seasons to size up. Your free agency from here on in now has got to be bigger players because you see what we're drafting. They're not small, thank God, like they were previously, but they're not overly huge either. They're healthy size, but you gotta insulate that lineup and get some big players too. So if we do go into free agency, it's got to be nothing but talent on big boys, and that's what we got to totally focus on. A lot of moves, in a lot of trades. I was shocked to see Sergachev get traded. Wow. some of the moves that were made were mind blowing, and it just looks like Tampa's now realizing uh, it's time to start thinking about getting younger. I mean, Washington seems to have clued in. They made a lot of positive moves and moved a lot in this draft, and I think Philly did as well. I think those were two teams that really understood it's time to move forward and semi start building, because Ovechkin is not going to carry that team on his own. So positive moves from them. But anyway, great job for the Habs. These kids look positive, and I'm sure some of these kids are going to pan out. Like I say, I have total faith in the first round picks we made. Uh, it's after that, because even at Koivu's level, you don't. There's no guarantees. He's a third round pick, and there's no guarantees with his size. Um, it gives him something to work for, but you look at that, and it's a crap shot uh, in the later stages of the draft. So we'll see, and look out for the free agency, but don't get your hopes up. Yeah, I tend to be a realist. Even though I'm excited, here I am excited about that we got Demidov and then Hage, but I'm still grounded because we all still need to see translation. But I do think that is obvious to translate for Demidov. But you still need to see it when they get to that level. And same thing with Hage. It's he probably even has to work a little harder. Uh, there's just things he has to work on in his game. So, but I think those two have the brighter spots. Rest of the draft is it's hard to say, but it's good to see they look like they're stocking the shelves on the forward group, and that's what we needed to do. I think the couple of defensemen were just add-ons, just to see might be some players you can move in the future for something else. So thank you for joining me. You seen it here first at Center Heights Productions. Great positive, like I say, a lot of positivity coming out of the kids. And I think, like I said, if Koivu's son ever makes it, you'll hear quite a bit of applause come out of the fans in Montreal. He will get support just for that connection. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, it was an interesting draft, a good one, and boy, did things ever turn in our favor, which shocked the heck out of me. A lot of surprising picks ahead of us, which allowed Demidov to fall on our laps. So we need to be thankful on that. And I said, go Habs, go, because in 2 years' time, then we can start getting excited. But I don't see where we're going to make this massive jump to compete for a wild card this up and coming season the way the management was talking. Can't see it. We'll see what happens, but stay tuned, and we'll be addressing free agency as it comes. So thank you for joining me. Remember to hit the likes and subscribes, muchly appreciated. And go Habs go. God bless.